Hey guys, Solomon here. I hope you're having a great day. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to play against the Alien Gambit. This has been popularized quite a bit recently by GothamChess, a dangerous gambit for white against the Caro-Kann Defense. And this video is for you guys that play the Caro-Kann and you're trying to figure out what to do with all of these Alien Gambit players playing against you. Or maybe you're just online, right? You're seeing Anna Kremling, you're seeing Eric Rozman, you're seeing Hikaru and all these other guys. GothamChess, obviously, right, making, Alien Gambit content, and you're just curious how to stop it. Well, this is the video for you, okay? Now, when we run into the Alien Gambit as black, we're playing the Caro-Kann, okay? We play this move c6, and, okay, I mean, so far everything looks pretty normal, okay? We take on e4, knight f6. I mean, if they take, we simply take back with the e-pawn, we're chilling, but now we see knight g5. Very odd move, right? Very odd. We kick this knight around. Good move for black, but then they take. Okay, now, when you first look at this, you might just think that this looks ridiculously bad. Okay, and I hear you. When I first saw this, I was wondering, why is this being played a lot, right, by all these titled players online? Why are people playing this? It's actually pretty dangerous. Okay, and that's why I wanted to make a video on it. And to you Caro-Kann Defense players, I don't think this opening is going anywhere anytime soon. I think this is going to be popular for a long time. If not, it's just going to be around for a long time. I think a lot of players as white are going to go with this against the Caro-Kann Defense. And in order to refute it, you really have to know what you're doing, okay? As GothamChess said, you either memorized the stockfish moves or you're cheating if you know how to defend this during a game. Okay, so obviously you guys are here, you're not cheating, you're learning about how to refute it, but it's nearly impossible to defend if you don't know what to do. Okay, what do we do though? How do we stop this? If you're a Caro-Kann Defense player, how can you have great confidence going forward into the future that the Alien Gambit doesn't phase you much? We're going to start out by taking. Okay, and I'm going to start out this video by giving you the tree trunk variation. Okay, by that, I mean the first variation that I recommend that you memorize. Okay, we're going to memorize this line a ton, get it mastered, and then start to build the branches from there. Okay, we got to, bite off one variation and then go to the next one. Okay, we can't try to memorize everything at once. Memorize one thing, move on. Okay. On top of that, hey, if you enjoy content like this, if you enjoy learning chess opening theory, trying to better your game, that's what this channel is all about. There's a lot of different things that I do. The Hippopotamus Defense, opening theory. I cover games, end game, middle game, opening strategies, all this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to help you guys improve as chess players and have fun while doing it. So if you're interested in that, it'd mean a ton if you hit that subscribe button. But all right, let's get into it. What can we see here from white? What is the tree trunk variation? Okay, and I'm going to explain all these moves, so just hold on. But let's go over the line first. Knight f3 is played. What are we doing now? c5, followed by knight c6, putting a ton of pressure on this pawn. And, okay, if I move here like bishop g3, let's take, pin that knight. If they check us, we bring our bishop back. And if you want to take the pawn, that's fine. We're still at material. We bring our bishop here. Very active minor piece, around -2 for black, okay, give or take, according to the engine if I look at it right now. Very solid position for black, but let's go back to the beginning. Okay, we're going to go over this tree trunk variation one more time. We're playing the Caro-Kann, we play d5, right, we take, we see this move knight g5, they take. What do we do here? 1, 2, very key ideas in refuting the Alien Gambit. And then here we take, pin that knight. If you want to check us, we go right back. We're fine. Okay. And if you take, boom, we're still at material. We're eyeing the queen. We're potentially giving white double isolated pawns. And yeah, we as black have a good game. So let's go back to this position. Okay. We looked at the move knight f3 and we'll get into that. But first off, what happens if they check us right away? Okay. Now, technically, the computer gives us an advantage after this move, an advantage after this move, but the best move that we have here is e6. Just block with the pawn. Okay, if you see the bishop check, block with the pawn. Boom, you're fine. Okay. Not only does the king defend it, but the bishop does as well. If you see a move like knight f3, we now play c5. What is up with the c5 move coming up all the time? Well, we're trying to do two things. First off, we're putting pressure on d4. Second off, we're trying to open up the c6 square for the knight, okay? We don't really want to go knight b7 necessarily because then the knight kind of gets in the way. It's not going to be as active as a knight on c6. And the pawn on e6 doesn't have a defender at that point. right? So that pawn on e6 is going to be a little bit more vulnerable to attack. So we're going to play this move c5. Now, the obvious question, though, is why can't white just start going after our king? Well, the answer is they can, but we're okay. What do we do here? When we're playing against the Alien Gambit, we don't want to play this move of king e8. Okay, this is a bad idea because we're on this short side diagonal, right? Short side diagonal. Very weak at this point. They could check, maybe go back. They're starting to look at bishop g6 checks ideas. How do we stop it? We can't, okay? And yeah, I know the computer's going to tell us that we're barely better as black. I don't feel better right now. I just don't. So we're not going to go to e8. Okay, instead of that, we're going to go to g8. Now, this diagonal is also a little bit weak, but it's a lot stronger, and we're also defending this pawn on e6 with the bishop, okay, with blockers on the way as well. Now, okay, let's say a move like knight g6, going for a rook. What I recommend to you guys is whenever you're playing against a gambit, including the Alien Gambit, just take a moment to realize that you're up material. And what this means is that you have flexibility to give some back, right? One of the biggest defensive mistakes that we can make when playing chess is being up in material and trying to not lose any points after that, okay? If you're up 2 points, up 3 points, up 4 points, it's okay if you give a point or two back. It's okay if you even out the material back in order to save your king, okay? Now, we don't want to give so much material back that we're down in material and we have a losing endgame, but just remember that if you're at material, you have some leverage on the defensive end. That's when I'm playing defensive chess. If I can snag a pawn real quick, I'll do it because I know that I have leverage. And not only do I feel the heat, but my opponent feels the heat as well because they have to checkmate me or they're simply down a pawn. Okay. Now, in this case, we could play a move like rook h7, but I recommend that you just leave that rook there. Okay. White is really going for that rook. You can have it all you want. Okay. There's quite a few moves that we have here. C takes d4 is good. Queen takes d4. Even this move of knight c6 is a solid option, just continuing to go after this pawn. Now, first off, if you take on c5, we take your queen. Okay, now we're traded off. You went crazy, in the opening. That's fine. The queens are off the board. Your attack is pretty much over. If you take the rook, we capture back. We're sitting at even material, but notice the advantage in development that black has, right? 3 pieces developed versus 1. And on top of that, we have a situation where white has an extra rook and they have an extra pawn, but in return, we have 2 minor pieces. 2 minor pieces is always better than a rook and a pawn in pretty much any situation I can think of. Okay, 2 minor pieces can do a lot more in a position, 2 pieces flying around, than a rook and a pawn, especially in a position like this where the rooks they're just not that mobile yet. Okay. Now, in this kind of position, there's a lot of things that we could do. We could play a move like e5. We can activate our bishop. We're chilling. Okay. Now going back, we see this move of knight c6. Again, if you want to take, we'll trade down. That's fine. Okay. And if you end up taking the rook, that's fine as well. Okay. White here, they might see that their pawn is threatened like crazy. They might take. Notice we just transposed into the same position that we just looked at. Okay. So whether they took the rook right away or later, we're going to get a similar position. And if you don't take the rook, then, cool, right? That's fine. That's fine with us. We're still going to keep playing. So let's see here. White plays a move like f3 because they're trying to save their pawn from getting captured. Let's advance with e5. Right? And here you could even keep advancing with e4. Play aggressively here. You're the one with the advantage in development. Okay. If they take, check, boom. Bishop e2 is possible, but then rook d8 check, bishop e3 after that. We have a great game. King d2 is the computer option, but against that we throw in a check. You can't go there because a little skewer on that rook. And if you block, we still have check, knight e5, going after that minor piece. If you take, we take with the knight. This position is just crushing for black, okay? No matter where that knight goes, it's going to be checked. So let's take a pawn, play a move like a5. A ton of ideas here. And just, again, look at the activity here. 4 very active pieces versus, okay, a decent rook, a pretty bad bishop, and a very bad rook on a1. And a king on c3 that is pretty open to attack. Just because queens are off the board, oftentimes, okay, sure, that means that the attack is over, but it doesn't always mean that, especially in a position like this where you got 4 minor pieces, 3 minor pieces, and a major piece flying around all over the place going crazy, and a king on the 3rd rank, okay? So, all that to say, right? We looked at this move of knight c6. We looked at how we can give up our rook, okay? And if you see a check, just block the check. Just block the check. You're going to be fine. Now, if we go back to this move of king takes f7, what about the move of knight f3? White is going for knight e5. Again, we don't want to play knight d7 because then this bishop is not going to be able to get active or even defend a pawn on e6, right? If we play a move like knight d7 and, you know, white ends up going for this diagonal or even checking us, it's just not as good as having a knight on c6 out of the way and putting pressure on white's center. So instead, what we're going to do, right, is play this move of c5, putting pressure on that pawn. And if a move like c3, what do? We're going to keep putting pressure, as we memorized or had a memorization tree trunk line at the beginning of this video. Let's first take a look, though. Okay, let's take a quick little gander at this move of d takes c5. What do? Just like earlier, when you're playing the Alien Gambit and you play that move of c5, the pawn's not defended. But that's okay. When they take, guess what? They went from down 2 to down 1. We're still up 1 point in material, and now we get to trade off queens. Okay, we gave a little bit back, but now we're safe. Okay, we play a move like bishop g4, pinning that knight to the king. Here, play a move like e6, you know, and notice that we're actually threatening to win that pawn. If a move like bishop e3, we keep putting pressure on it. Black's over -2 here. All right. And going back, if we see a move like knight e5 with check, again, we're not going to e8. In fact, this is simply losing for black. Okay, this diagonal is very weak against the king. What do? King g8. Okay. Again, if bishop c4, e6 ready to go. If knight g6, we play bishop f5. You can take, right? And in this case, we can actually take on d4 because we got to ask ourselves the question, can the knight get out? In this case, because we have this bishop on f5, this knight is unable to get out of the corner safely. The knight can't even sack for a pawn and do a little, you know, desperado kind of thing where it's like, I'm going to get some. The knight can't do anything. The knight can't even take a pawn here. So instead of taking the knight right away, why not take this pawn first and then take the knight? Okay. If they offer a trade, that's fine. We'll capture the knight. We're up a pawn in material, up 1 point in material. And yeah, I mean, moves like e5, knight c6, queen d5, we got ourselves a good ball game here. c5 is played. Notice, again, taking here doesn't really do much. And knight e5, that's fine. We're just going to go back to g8, keep developing quickly. You know, if you really want to go for a rook, go ahead. But we'll give you that material back. But then we're going to get the center, and your attack kind of dissipated. The Alien Gambit didn't work out in that case. Okay. Now, against c5, Levy, Rozman, with GothamChess, recommends this move of c3. This is what he likes to play. Okay, and that's why I included this as, you know, part of our main tree trunk variation, is because a lot of these players that play this, you know, gambit against you are watching GothamChess content. What do we do in this case? Knight c6. Why not? Just keep putting the pressure on white. And we're going to look at this move of bishop d3. Okay, but let's look at a few more options that you could see. These are not necessarily the best options, but these are options that you could see. Okay, first off, knight e5 check. What is wrong with this? Because we get to trade off queens. We're being attacked. We want to trade, right? If we're attacking you, we don't want to trade because we have firepower. We're trying to keep everything on the board, checkmate the king. If we're being attacked, let's trade queens, okay? And we're up material, so that makes it double. I mean, just kind of a double win-win choice, right? Now we play knight g4. We're going after pawns like they're candy. If you check us, that's fine. Let's offer a trade. We're up in material. Let's trade down, right? We'll take back. Yeah, we're just winning here as black. Okay, we're just winning. So knight c6 is played. Knight e5 doesn't do much because they take, and you know, we take, and if they take back, thanks for the queen. Okay, what about this move of bishop c4? Well, in this case, we block with e6, right? Block with e6. Maybe we take, play a little developmental move like bishop d6. The engine here seems to like knight e7. I personally like rook e8. I mean, it just feels a lot more natural to me. Now we have two defenders on this pawn. You know, maybe the king can start to retreat a little bit and get into more of a safe spot. Again, we're up a piece for a pawn here. So if you need to give some material back, totally do it. But you don't necessarily need to, depending on how the game goes. Okay. And going back to knight c6, what if we see a move like bishop b5 attacking this knight, a key defender of e5? Well, we don't really care. We're going to take on d4. And if you want to take our knight, go ahead. If you want to check us, which square are we going to? G8, right? It's always G8. G8, if you take on D4, bishop A6, beautiful idea. I'm a big fan of this idea, bringing a bishop to the sideline in order to not let the opponent's king castle. And sure, this actually kind of leaves the square of E6 open, but that's okay because we have other blockers. For example, our bishop gets attacked, we're staying right here. We are not allowing you to castle. And if you do check us, we block the check with the queen, offer a trade again. I mean, what else could you ask for? Okay. And going back to this move, knight C6, what if bishop T3? Well, here we can take, and after captures back, pin that knight on F3. Okay, we're just developing here. We're playing natural chess. We're developing. If a move like castling kingside, we can play E6. Okay, if a move like bishop C4 check, we can play E6. Now, against the move of queen B3 with check, here we don't want to play E6 because we'd get checked again. A double whammy. So in that case, block with the bishop, play bishop D5. You have a centralized piece. Now they have, 2 pawns for the piece, but we're still much better. Yeah, I mean, let's say a move like castling kingside. I actually think king G8 is a good idea. Just get the king a little bit safer, right? Get the king out of dodge a little bit while you can. If the queen wants to move, that's fine. Rook B8, let's get tempo against it. You want to move your queen? Let's give you double isolated pawns, as well as an isolated pawn on H2, plus the isolated pawn on D4. You have 6 pawns, and 2/3 of them, so 4 out of 6, are isolated. And now we take back. We're putting pressure on that pawn. And if you want to check us, okay, we block. We block, right? Easy development from here, and a great game for black. Okay, so that really covers what to do against the Alien Gambit. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot of lines, a lot of variations. But again, I recommend that you memorize the following. Okay, write it down, watch this video through a few times. Let me know if you have any questions below on any of these lines and variations as well. And if you guys want an exclusive PGN, I've started posting exclusive PGNs to my videos on my Patreon page. So if you want to support me there, that is an added benefit that you gain by becoming a member. But okay, going back, we see this move of D5, right? Knight C3, we take. Okay, we play knight F6. You want to play knight takes F7 with the alien? Go ahead. From here, we're playing a very quick C5 and knight C6, right? We're taking, we're pinning your knight. And against check, we're bringing the bishop back so that we don't get double whammied with the check again. We relocate our bishop, and we're just playing chess. Okay, that's the first thing. Memorize that line. Remember as well that knight E5 check is okay. The main priority you need to have is playing C5 and knight C6. If you see a check, play E6. And remember that when you're checked, please don't bring the king to E8. This is how people lose games. In fact, earlier today, I saw a game by Hikaru where he beat someone, I think at like a 2400 in 6 seconds because his opponent went to E8. Don't do that. Go to G8. It might seem weird, but it's what you got to do to hang on against the alien. Let me know if you have any questions below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching today's video. I really quickly wanted to give a shout out to my Patreon community for the month of March in 2024. I appreciate y'all a ton. And yeah, if you guys are interested in joining the Patreon community, becoming part of that family, I highly recommend that you go check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.